Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of The Struggle. It has been a while. Hold on. Yeah, it has been a long while. I apologize for the inconsistencies of the last couple months. Sorry. I thought I did something and I didn't. Yeah, I apologize for the inconsistencies over the last couple months. I've had a lot going on in my personal life, with work. As you guys know, I work like a Hebrew slave, so I'm working around the clock, and a lot of times I don't get a lot of time for myself. I don't get a lot of time for the missus. I don't really get a lot of time for much of anything, and on top of doing going back to college, getting my master's, and all types of other stuff. So it has been a lot. I apologize that I haven't been here. I know the views have been hurting. So there you go. That's why. So if you guys don't see me for a while, just know your boy has a lot of stuff going on. And I'm not just some regular, well, I am a regular dude, but it's not that I got a whole bunch of nonsense going on and I forgot about you guys or I just stopped doing the show. It's literally because I got a lot to do. It's most of my days I'm waking up at 4 a.m. just to go to work, and I'm at work, most of the day. Then I get home, got to give the wife her time, and then then I got to give school its time, and then I go to my other job and all types of other stuff. So if you guys wondering, hey, he hasn't been putting out any content in a while. That's why. But I do appreciate everyone going back and watching my older stuff, especially. I want to thank everybody who supported me on the Uncle Tom 2 review. That seems to be the most popular video right now that I've made. A lot more popular than these biblical episodes, but who cares? Who cares? So if you guys don't see this, I just dropped a link. If you guys want to call in, I'm kind of pressed for time today. So, so we're going to go ahead and get through this thing here. So today's episode, we are going to be covering Exodus 37 and 38. Trust me, if I'm a little bit rusty, that's bear with me. We are streaming live on both my personal Facebook page, the show's Facebook page. We're streaming live on YouTube and Twitter, so you guys can get this anyway. And I've also been backed up on the podcast because, like I said, I haven't been having a lot of time to go over the audio, upload it to the podcast. So, but thankfully, YouTube finally got with the times, and now you can listen to YouTube without having it playing. Without having the app open, it will just create a miniature screen, and you guys can watch it. So let's go ahead and get into this. So for those of you that are on my personal page, I apologize. You can't see all the pretty backgrounds and all this other stuff. And also, if I'm having audio issues, please drop it in the comments box, because I am toying around with this new software called Loopback. I've been getting a lot of complaints. People saying, "Why is your screen like why is like your screen will start, but there's no sound?" A lot of times it's because the interface on StreamYard, I can't really stream a lot of sounds to it. I mean, unfortunately, so I'm toying around with software. I haven't really had a lot of experience with Loopback. So if you guys have experience with Loopback, please reach out to me, because I'm definitely trying to refine this thing so that way we can get this thing popping. Because I just want to be able to get on and cut the camera on and let's roll with it. So speaking of rolling with it, we are using the Messianic Jewish Family Bible, the TOV version. For those of you that are interested in knowing which translation we are using, you guys can use any translation that you want, whether that's the King James version, whether that's the NIV, ESV, whatever. I don't care. You're not going to upset me if you're like, well, I like to use the Dewey Rams version. Well, got that too. The King James version is the only version. Okay, if you say so. My only requirement is as long as you can read it and as long as you like reading. That's my only requirement. So let's go ahead and get into this. So we're gonna start off chapter. See, and that's a typo again. See, I was rushing. Chapter 37, Ark Table, Menorah, and Incense Altar. So 37, Bezaleel also made the ark from acacia wood, two 2.5 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide, a cubit and a half high. He overlaid it with pure gold inside and out, and made a crown of gold for it all around. He cast four golden legs for it in the 4 feet, two rings on one side and two rings on the other. He also made poles of acacia wood and overlaid it with gold. Then he put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry the ark. Now, one of the things that I have learned just recently is the reason why acacia wood is used, and and I just heard this was that acacia wood is it doesn't bear fruit. Let me see. Let me see. How do you spell acacia? Acacia. So I'm gonna go ahead and share. Let me see if I can share the screen real quick. Uh, let me see if I can do this. All right, here we go. So here is acacia wood. Acacia wood, known commonly as mimosa, acacia, thorn tree, and wattle, genus, yada yada yada. So this is what it looks like. Let me see. Uh, does acacia bear fruit? Oh. So, fruit of acacia is dry pods, elongated, filled to 6 to 5 brown and black seeds. Acacia can be promulgated via seeds or cutting. So, yeah, let's go back. Let's go ahead back to this. All right. Oops. Sorry if I feel like if I sound like I'm rushing. He made an atonement cover for of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide. Then he forged two cherubim of gold from hammered work at the two ends of the atonement cover, one cherub at one end and one cherub at the other. He made the atonement cover from a single piece with the cherubim on the two ends. So the cherubim spread their wings on high, eh, overshadowing the atonement cover with their wings, with their face to one another, and the faces of the cherubim towards the atonement cover. Then he made the table of acacia wood, 2 cubits long, a cubit wide, a cubit and a half high, overlaid it with pure gold, made a golden crown all around. He also made a border for it, hand width around, made a golden crown for the border all around. He cast four golden rings for it and put the rings into the four corners that were on the 4 feet. The rings were closed to the border and as holders for the poles to carry the table. He also made poles of acacia wood overlaid with gold, carried the table, forged the articles that were on the table, the dishes, pans, bowls, jars, which with which to pour out of pure gold. Then he made the menorah of pure gold hammered work, even its base, its stem, its cups, its bulbs, and its flowers were one piece with it. There were 6 branches going out from each side, 3 branches out of one side, 3 branches out the other. 3 cups made like almond blossoms were in one branch, a bulb within a flower, and uh 3 cups made like almond blossoms in the next branch, another bulb within a flower. It was just so the 6 branches going out of the menorah. Also within the menorah there were 4 cups made like almond blossoms, bulbs and flowers, with bulbs under 2 branches of one piece, a second bulb under 2 branches and of another piece, a bulb under 2 branches of a third piece, for 6 branches extending out from it. Their bulbs were branches and their branches were one piece within it, an entire hammer work of pure gold. He also made 7 lamps, also with tongs and censers for of gold of pure gold. He made them from a talent of pure gold, and the word talent actually means 20. I think means 75 pounds. So 75 pounds of gold along with all the pieces. He made the altar of incense from acacia wood, cubit long, a cubit wide, square with 2 cubits high. The thorns were on one side, but with it, with then he overlaid it with pure gold on top. On the side, all around and over its horns. Sorry, he made a crown of gold for it all around. He made two golden rings underneath the crown on two sides as the holders for poles to carry it. He made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. Then he made the holy anointing oil and the pure incense, sweet spices, and blended perfume. So now we're going to go ahead over into 38, the altar for sacrifices. He then made the altar of burnt offerings of from acacia wood. It was square, 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide, 3 cubits high. He he also made the horns on the four corners from one piece and overlaid with bronze. Then he made all the utensils for the altar, the pots, the shovels, and the basins, the forks, the fire pans. He made all the utensils from bronze. He also made a bronze grating net for the altar under the ledge around it, reaching halfway up. He casted four rings for four ends of the bronze grating to be holders for the poles. He made the poles of acacia wood, overlaid them with bronze. Then he put the poles and into the rings on one side of the altar to carry it, and he made it hollow out of boards. He made the basins and the base from bronze with mirrors from the women who served at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then he made the courtyard, the south side hanging the courtyard, uh, where finely twisted linen, 100 cubits long. There were 20 poles, 20 pillars, 20 bronze bases. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. Likewise, the north side, 100 cubits long, with 20 bronze pillar bases, and the hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. For the west side, the hangings were 50 cubits with 10 pillars on their 10 bases, as well as the hooks of the pillars that and their silver bands. Likewise, crap, I'm starting to get lost. Likewise, for the east side, 50 cubits long, hanging from one side of the gate were 15 cubits and three pillars and their bases. Similarly, on the other side of the gate of the courtyard, were hangings of 15 cubits with their three pillars and three bases. All these hangings of the courtyard were all around with and were finely twisted linen. The bases of the pillar were bronze, the hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. The overlaying of their capitals were silver, and the pillars of the courtyards were ringed with silver. The curtains from the gate of the courtyard was the work of color weavers, the blue, purple, scarlet, finely twisted linen. It was 20 cubits long, 5 cubits high, like the hangings of the courtyard. There are four pillars, four bases were bronze. Their hooks along the overlays of their capitals were and their bands were silver. All the pegs of the tabernacle and the courtyard all around were bronze. And now we're moving into this subchapter or this next, I guess, section, Pekudiah, the amounts of. These are the accounts of the tabernacles of testimony. They were recorded according to the commandments of Moses by the service of the Levites under the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron the Cohen, Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made all that Adonai commanded Moses. Along with him, Aholiab, sorry, son of Ahisamach of the tribe of Dan, a craftsman, a skilled worksman, and a weaver of colors in blue, purple, scarlet, and fine linen. The entirety of the gold that was used for the work of the sanctuary, including the gold offering, was 29 talents. So 29 times 75. Let me see. Yeah, 75 pounds. So 29 times. Let's do, let's break out the calculator. So 29 times 75. That's 2,175 pounds. And 730 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. The silver from those number from the congregation was 100 talents. So that's 750 pounds, and 1,775 shekels. Yeah, 1775. Anyway, according to the sanctuary shekels, that is a becca or a half shekel per hand, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, for everyone who was recorded from 20 years old and upward of 603,550 men. The 100 talents of silver were for casting the bases of the sanctuary and the bases of the inner curtains. 100 bases for 100 talents, a talent for each base. The 1,775 shekels were made for hooks for the pillars, overlaid their capitals, and made bands for them. The bronze from the offering was 70 talents, 2,400 shekels. With it, he made the basis for the entrance of the tent of meeting, the bronze altar, the bronze grating, all its utensils for the altar, along with the bases of the courtyard all around, the basis for the gate and the courtyard, as well as the pegs of the tabernacle and the pegs for the courtyard all around. And that is it. So, yeah. I try to get through that as fast as I could. Sorry, that's an old footnote. Let's go ahead and remove that. So yeah, I try to get through that as fast as I could. Trust me, because this part of Leviticus is by far the most boring. I because you're just getting nothing but measurements. Let me see. Yeah, so the next two chapters, it kind of it kind of picks up a bit, and because we just have 39 and 40, that'll be it for Exodus, and then we're going to get into Leviticus, where we're going to get a lot of laws, we're going to get a lot of offerings, for everybody, including the priest and the prophets. We're going to get some stories, and then we're going to, so yeah, I just, let me see, give me 1 second. So I just got Dennis Prager's newest book, Deuteronomy. Boom. I pre-ordered it. It came in this week. God blessing and curses. Unfortunately, he hasn't come out with Leviticus yet. So maybe when he does that, we'll probably won't be done because it's been taking us a long time to get through Exodus. And give me 1 more second. I also have this book right here, the complete 54 books of the Apocrypha. This is the 2022 edition with the Deuterocanon, the one through three Enoch, Giants, Jasher, Jubilees, the Pseudepiphrica, yeah, and the Apostolic Fathers. So yeah, this is a thick book. So as you guys know, I like to research this stuff. I go through this stuff all the time. Trust me, if you guys just have questions, I'm not claiming to be an expert. We're just going through this page by page from start to finish. Excuse me, from start to finish. Because a lot of people don't know what's inside the Bible. And yes, the Bible has boring parts of it. These last few chapters of Exodus have been boring. Trust me. It's boring to me. I don't know what to tell you. There's going to be some parts that are like that, but then you're going to pick up because I think Exodus is probably one of the longest books of the Bible. So once you get through Exodus, Leviticus is nothing really but laws, and then you go through Numbers, where it's going to go through genealogies. And then you're going to go through Deuteronomy. Yeah, Deuteronomy is last. So we're gonna go through ups and downs as we're going through this. I'm gonna try and pick out stuff. I couldn't really pick out anything because this is nothing but just materials that were used. So that's why I didn't really bother you guys with the Dennis Prager's book. I'm pretty sure I could find something in there from his commentary. Me personally, I couldn't find anything as just me reading it. I can't find anything as far as any messaging other than the fact that there's a big giant debate about the menorah. People like to say, oh, it's 8 branches. No, it's 7. Bible straight up tells you that it's 7. It reads it out directly. It's 7. It's one in the middle, 3 on both sides. So there's a lot of people that try to say, oh well, Hanukkah, I mean there's 8. Yeah, but that's a Hanukkah. It's not a menorah. They're different. Um, so yeah, the only thing I really talk about is probably like some off kilter stuff. Personally, right now, in my own personal Bible, I'm reading First Samuel. Trust me, once we get past this, the books are just gonna start flying. My favorite so far, I'm really liking Samuel. Um, Judges was nuts, so I can't wait for us to get to Judges. It may take us a while, but once we get into Judges, things just start popping off. It's nothing but blood and death in Judges. So I know my male listeners will probably like Judges a lot more. And I've actually been mentoring some of my younger guys out of Judges. And honestly, I've been mentoring. I'm reading First Samuel right now, and I'm just going to sidestep from Exodus 37 and 38. So recently, every morning, this is my routine. Whenever I go into work, I get up. My wife and I, we get up at 4 in the morning. We get ourselves ready. We get our house ready. We get our animals ready. Sorry. Um, we get our day started. We head to work. We both just go in opposite directions. Soon as I get into work, the days when I do go into work, I get my workstation set up, and I spend my morning with the Father and His Word. So in one of so I'm reading First Samuel right now, and First Samuel stands out to me as far as just the earlier chapters because First Samuel starts off before Samuel's even born, and um, Samuel's mother was barren. She was one of two wives. And the other wife was favored because she could have children. And the other wife used to ridicule Hannah, Samuel's mother, because she couldn't have children. So once Hannah had enough. She was just irate. She was in public crying. Eli, who was a judge and a priest, thought that she was drunk. And then once she explained to him what's been going on, Eli blessed her and sent her on her way. Now, this is what I really want everyone to focus on, especially men. The character Eli, well, I shouldn't say the character, but Eli in First Samuel is very, very, very lazy. And maybe this is probably where I can make the connection because as we see here, Bazaleel, he's making all these items. Him and Aholiab are making all these items for the tabernacle. It's to the point where they had to tell people to stop. It's too much. On the flip side, you have Eli, who is when you meet him in First Samuel, he's sleeping, he's napping. Second, and he's outside of the tabernacle. Then Hannah gives birth. She ends up as an atonement to God. She gives Samuel over to Eli to raise him, and then she ends up having more children after that. But she never forgets about Samuel. I don't want you to think that Hannah was a bad person because she would make clothes and bring them to Samuel. Now Eli had two other sons, and his sons were wicked. They were they were pretty much exploiting people's offerings. Of course, as we're going to see in Leviticus and everything, and we probably have already seen in Exodus, there's certain pieces that go to God, and there's certain pieces that go to the Levites or the priest. Eli's sons were pretty much taking the best for themselves, and that was it. They were extorting people out of money, they were extorting people out of food and all types of other stuff that were offerings to the tabernacle. Again, Eli is sleeping the whole time. Um, Fast forward a couple years, Samuel's probably a teenager at this point. God is now calling Samuel out of his sleep. They're inside the tabernacle, they're asleep, and we just got finished reading about everything that's going into the tabernacle. So Samuel's asleep. God calls him three times. Each time, Samuel thinks it's Eli. Eli wakes up, and we'll go over this again. And Eli goes to, I mean, Samuel wakes up, goes to Eli, and he keeps asking, "Hey, why are you calling me? What do you need?" Eli's like, "That wasn't me." So finally, the third time, Eli was like, "Okay, this must be God calling you. Here's what I want you to say. And next time he calls you, I want you to say that. Pretty much, I'm here, your servant," something like that. So God calls a fourth time, wakes Samuel up, and then now God presents himself to Samuel, and then he tells Samuel everything that he is about to do, especially to Eli. So next day, Eli wakes up. He asks Samuel, what did God tell you? I want to know everything, even so much to the point where he even threatens Samuel. He attempts to curse Samuel. So Samuel ends up telling him, "Hey, God's not pleased with you on behalf of your sons, and he knows that you know, and you have not rebuked them." So now Eli has no choice, but he's just like, if that's his will, then that's his will. I'll accept whatever punishment comes my way. Not trying to make an atonement for it. He's just like, I'll accept what comes my way. It's kind of like one of those things where you're caught red handed. There's really nothing you can say. There's really nothing you can do. I say that to say, and the reason why that stood out to me was we have a lot of people that are like Eli. We have people in the church, we have people in business, we have people, especially in politics, we have people in just regular life that are like Eli. They're just sleeping because they finally reached the position that they're at. And if you just go back a couple hundred years or a couple generations where you have Bezalel and Aholiab making everything. These guys weren't sleeping. They were working 6 days a week trying to get this tabernacle up. And here you got Eli just sitting around, being lazy, sleeping, napping. Yeah, he's an older man by the time that this event happens, because they even say he's blind. But your sons are, obviously you've been lazy your entire life, that you didn't even correct your sons. So the reason why I bring this up, even though we're probably gonna touch on this again, is here we have everything that is made, the characteristics of everything that is made going inside the tabernacle. And here we have, just a couple generations later, we have a man who's not only a judge of Israel, but he's a priest. And he's not even honoring all the hard work that not only God did by bringing them out of Egypt, but also his predecessors who built these tabernacles, who built these tents and these meeting places and the Ark of the Covenant and all this other stuff. And then, interesting fact, God also said, "I'm going to curse your family," yada yada yada. So his sons, Israel's getting decimated by the Philistines. The Israelites think, okay, we're going to take the Ark of the Covenant down there. We're going to win. God's going to be with us. God's like, no, I'm not. I'm not even here right now. God's checked out. So the Israelites get defeated. The Ark of the Covenant, which we just described, has just been taken. It's been stolen. So word gets back to Eli. Hey, your sons are dead. Eli doesn't even bat an eye. He's like, okay. But then once he hears that the Ark of the Covenant was stolen, now he's all distraught to the point where he falls over and dies. And we see a lot of that. We see, especially in the socio-political world, where we have people who will get upset about anything and everything. They won't do anything, but then if their candidate doesn't win, they're all upset. When a legislation is passed, they're all upset. Or they'll be on the interwebs complaining about men this, women that, and they're not doing anything. Trust me, I'm in a whole bunch of groups on Facebook. I see the comments. I see a whole bunch of men complaining about women, how jacked up women are. And God has placed men to be in a position of leadership, at a position of authority, not only in society, but especially in our homes. And these men are lazy. These men do not honor what happened before, which put them in these positions. They haven't honored their own fathers. They haven't honored the men who who made this world the way it is. They're just basking in the peacetime, quote so to speak, and they're falling asleep. And now you what do you have? You have their children who are degenerates going to these schools, being transed out by the teachers, being transed out by the media, being transed out or all types of other stuff by all these other influences, and the parents aren't checking it. So much so that the parents are aware of it and do nothing. Women will go online, complain about men, how men are cheaters, liars, all this other stuff, but they themselves aren't doing anything about it. They rather complain, sit, and nap versus working on them to even get a man that's not even like that. I've seen women in my own personal life on both sides of the spectrum. I've seen some amazing women who put the work in, my wife included, put the work in. They realized something wasn't working, they put the work in, they work on themselves, they transform themselves to even to have a beautiful, wonderful marriage. Case in point, one of my friends, you guys have seen her on the show, or you've heard her on the show in the podcast version. Um, her and I went to high school together. She growing up, she grew up in a household, father and mother, very religious household, but even she didn't even realize how much she didn't know. She put herself through cooking classes. She put herself through women's classes. She put herself through all these things just so that way she can be the perfect wife for her husband. you know my wife, she puts the work in. She does a whole bunch. She constantly works on herself. She gets self-help books. She does a whole bunch of stuff to learn how to be a better person, and not only that, just be a better wife. Not a lot of women are doing that. They rather put the blame on men than work on themselves, so that way when the right man comes along, they can blossom in their position. Same thing with men. Men would rather complain about these women, but not put the work in to blossom. And then you also have women who will criticize people like myself, men who are married. We're off the market and we're saying, hey, this is what married men are looking for. And we're trying to rebuke these bad behaviors because I want to see people married. I want to see more families. I want to see more happy relationships. I want to see more married people versus people just shacking up and pretty much wasting their lives together you know so these people will point their finger at men like myself. Well, what business is it of yours anyway, what these women do or what these people do? Well, what business is it of mine? Well, let's just see. If I have children, my children are going to have to deal with your children. My children are going to have to pick a suitable helpmate from your children. If you're not living your life right, and I know you're not raising your children right, and now you're offended that I'm saying something or that I'm pointing out, hey, maybe the path that you're going down is not the right path. Now you're upset at me. Okay, great. You can be upset at me. But now my concern is my children. My children are going to have to deal with your children. And people would like to say, well, where have all the good men gone? Either they're married or they're just not born yet. Because you have a lot of these people that are sitting, napping like Eli, instead of working on the tabernacle, forging something of fine linen work or metal work, something beautiful for the purposes of glorifying God. These people would rather just sit and nap, indulge, and waste their life. You know what? That See, I made the connection. There you go. That's God right there. I can't take credit. But yeah, a lot of people are we have a lot more Eli's than we have Bezaliel and we have Holiab. We don't have a lot of those people that are out here intentionally doing the work that needs to be done, being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, the Spirit of God, to do the work that needs to be done. Because I'm pretty sure some of these guys didn't have these skills beforehand. And let's talk about that. There's a lot of people that are afraid of trying. There's a lot of people that are afraid of experimenting. There's a lot of people that are afraid of failing. I don't think any of these people that were building the tabernacle, I don't think that they had any goldsmith, silversmith making pillars and all this other stuff. And especially if they did, they probably didn't have the adequate tools. And even the Bible said they were endowed with these abilities to do this. So I know that they didn't have the skills, but they ended up doing it anyway. And to the point where we even have measurements of everything, descriptions of everything that they were working on. So we don't see a lot of that nowadays. We just see a lot of rinse, wash, repeat, rinse, wash, repeat. A lot of people just want to sit and rest on their laurels and not do anything. So whether you guys want to, and I'm trying to be one of those guys like Oholiab and Bezalel, trying to make something that God has ordained and make it beautiful to the way that He wants it done. And I'm not trying to be like Eli to the point where, yeah, I'm a wise man in a position. I wouldn't even say wise man, but I am a man in a position and I do nothing. So that's really on you. Whether you want to be like Eli or you want to be like these men who are out here making the tabernacle, it's really up to you. But your choices and your decisions and your lack of action are going to have consequences that you may not be prepared for. So until next time, I'm out. Hopefully we'll try and speed this thing up. I'll try to be more consistent. I do have on the Edmo show side tip, I do have some upcoming collaborations that will be happening. I'll let you guys know once we finalize these things. I do have more people that are offering to want to come on the show to kind of add to the conversation. Of course, I've been in good conversation with my man Zoe, so Zoe will be back on the show. We just need to schedule a time, and I just need to make sure I free up my schedule. So until then, I appreciate all of you who come out and watch every single week or whenever you guys watch, and we will see you guys next time. Peace out.